story timers! It's your favorite story timer, Annie! And her adorable little pal, Tina the Turtle. And tonight, I'm gonna be reading y'all The Indian in the Cupboard by Lynn Reed Banks. And you know what I'm gonna say next. If you have this book at home, then why not go grab it so we can read together? Last time, we left off on the chapter Underfloor Adventure. So let's see what the story has in store for us. What happened? He got out in a faint, shaky voice. Nobody liked to tell him, but at last Little Bear had to confess. "I shoot," he said. "What you talking about, you crazy Injun? I asked you what happened in the picture. Did them settlers beat the Redskins and get to where they was aiming to get to? Or did the Redskins carry off the women and scalp all the men, the dirty low-down savages?" Little Bear drew in his breath. His head, which had been hanging in shame, came up sharply. And to Omri's horror, he actually saw his hand go to his belt for his knife. Luckily it wasn't there, but he jumped to his feet. "Boone shut mouth. Not insult Indian braves or Little Bear shoot again. This time kill good. Take scalp. Hang on pole. Boone scalp too dirty. Hang on belt of Chief Indian." And he snatched his chief's cloak off Boone's body and swirled it proudly back around his own shoulders. Omri was shocked. Patrick was laughing so hard he could scarcely hold it in. But he controlled himself enough to wrap Boone up in the cutout blanket to keep him warm. Omri snatched the Little Bear up between finger and thumb. "Oh, so you're a chief again, are you?" he hissed fiercely. "Chiefs ought to know how to keep their tempers. Here." He picked up the broken headdress off the floor and lifted it lopsidedly onto Little Bear's head. "Now, Chief, have a good look at yourself." And he held Little Bear up before a mirror. Little Bear took one look and then hid his face in his hands. "Just remember what you did to your friend." "Not friend, enemy," muttered Little Bear, but the anger had gone out of him. "Whatever he is, you've got a job to do. Where are those pills? You're to see that he gets them. We can't even see them, so it's up to you. And when Boone is better, do you know what you're going to do? You're going to make him your blood brother." Little Bear shot him a quick, startled look. "Blood brother?" "You both make little cuts on your wrists and tie them together so the blood mingles, and after that you can't be enemies ever again. It's an old Indian custom." Little Bear looked baffled. "Not Indian custom." "I'm sure it is. It was in a film I saw." "White man idea, not Indian." "Well, couldn't you do it just this once?" Little Bear was silent for a moment, thinking. Then Omri saw that crafty look that he knew of old coming onto the Indian's face. "Good," he said. "Little Bear give Boone medicine. Make him my brother when strong. And Omri put plastic in box. Make wife real for Little Bear." "Not tonight," said Omri firmly. "We've had enough excitement. Tonight you stand guard over Boone. Give him his pills when he needs them. Drink some water and all that. Tomorrow, if everything's all right, I'll bring your woman to life. That's a promise." All right. So that's the end of that, but I'm going to finish the book now. So, Chapter 16, Brothers. Omri had fully intended to go to sleep. Patrick did almost immediately, but Omri couldn't try, tired though he was. Instead, he lay in the candlelight, his head turned toward the table where Boone lay. And Little Bear sat cross-legged next to him, erect and watchful. Sometimes Omri would close his eyes, but he did no more than doze. Each time he opened them, he would meet Little Bear's unblinking stare. It was partially the rat that kept Omri awake. It pattered around under the floor for hours, making Omri nervous, but it never came anywhere near the men. No, that wasn't the main thing. The main thing was Omri's thoughts. But if you like sleeping, then you can like and subscribe to my channel. I really need it. What was he going to do? He would bring Little Bear's woman to life, as he had promised, but then what? It had been hard enough with only one little being to feed, protect, and keep secret. Much harder after Boone came. Now there'd be 3, and one a woman. Young as he was, Omri knew that 1 woman and 2 men spelled trouble. And what if there should be children? No. For all Little Bear's unpredictable moods, his demands, his occasional cruelties, Omri liked him. He wanted to keep him, but he knew now that that was impossible, whichever way he thought about it. The end was the same, disaster of some kind. Whatever magic had brought this strange adventure about must be put to use again to send the little people back to their own place and time. Having decided this, however, sadly and reluctantly, Omri's stressful thoughts let go their hold on him. He drifted off to sleep. When he opened his eyes again, dawn was breaking. The morning chorus of birds was just beginning. The candle had burned itself out. The rat had gone to sleep. So had Little Bear, nodding over his bow. Omri peered closely at Boone. The yellow field dressing on his wound moved steadily up and down. His skin had lost that gray look. He was better, of course. Little Bear shouldn't have gone to sleep, but just the same, he had done his best. Omri slipped out of bed. His blazer was hanging from a hook at the back of his door. He took the paper bag with the woman in it out of the pocket. Moving on tiptoe, he went to the cupboard, took out the plastic soldier, put in the plastic Indian girl, and locked the cupboard door again. When he heard little movements, he unlocked the cupboard and opened the door crack so she wouldn't be frightened in the dark. Then he got back into bed, covered himself up all except his eyes, and stayed perfectly still to watch what would happen. At first, nothing did. Then slowly, stealthily, the door was pushed a little farther open. Out crept a beautiful Indian girl. There was enough light in the room now for Omri to see the black of her hair, the chestnut brown of her skin, the bright red of her dress. He couldn't see her expression, but he guessed she was bewildered. She glanced all around, and at once spotted Boone lying on the ground and Little Bear dozing beside him. She approached them cautiously. For a few moments she lingered behind Little Bear, clearly not sure whether she should touch him and wake him or not. She decided against it, and circling Boone's feet, sat herself cross-legged on his other side, facing Little Bear. She sat staring at him. The three of them were so utterly still that they might still have been plastic. Then a blackbird outside gave a particularly loud chirrup, and Little Bear sat up sharply. Dun, dun, dun! At once he saw her. His whole body gave a jolt. Omri felt a prickling up the back of his neck. The way they looked at each other, it went on a long time. Then slowly and both together, they rose to their feet. Little Bear spoke to her quietly in a strange language. She answered. He smiled. Standing there on either side of Boone, not touching, they talked for some minutes in low voices. Then he put out his hand, and she put hers into it. Aww. They stood silently. Then their hands dropped. Little Bear pointed at Boone and began talking again. The girl crouched down, touched Boone gently and expertly. She looked up at Little Bear and nodded. Then Little Bear looked around the room. He saw Omri. Omri put his finger to his lips and shook his head, as if to say, "Don't tell her about me." Little Bear nodded. He took the girl by the hand and led her to the seed box, up the ramp and into the longhouse. After a moment or two, he came out again. He ran the length of the table till he stood on its edge, as near to Omri as he could get. "Do you like her?" Omri asked. Little Bear put his hands to his belt and unfastened it. "I like. Fit wife for chief. I pay much for her." And he handed Omri the belt, made of the shiny white beads. "Now Omri hear Little Bear. Woman say Boone good, not die. Little Bear pleased. Omri take Boone, put in longhouse. Woman take care, give little medicines." He held up the pillboxes. "Omri get food, make wedding feast." "How can you have a wedding feast with only 2 Indians?" "Yes, not good. Omri make more Indian. Come to feast?" he asked hopefully. When Omri shook his head, Little Bear's face fell. "Little Bear, wouldn't you rather have your wedding feast at home with your own tribe?" Little Bear was no fool. He understood at once. He stood still staring at Omri. "Omri put in box, send back," he said. His voice was very flat. Omri couldn't tell if he liked the idea or not. "What do you think? Wouldn't it be better?" Very slowly the Indian nodded his head. "And Boone?" "Boone too." "Make him my brother first." "Yes, then I'll send you all back." "When?" "When Boone's well enough." Once Omri had decided every day that passed was important, because it was one day nearer to the last. Patrick was as sad as he was, but he didn't argue against Omri's decision. "It's the only way, really," Patrick said. After that, he didn't talk about it anymore. He just tried to be at Omri's house as much as possible. He couldn't do things with Boone much, of course, even though in a day or two Boone was sitting up in the log house and demanding to talk to his horse, which was brought to the entrance for the purpose, and whining for all sorts of special food and drink. I can't be expected to get my strength back if you won't give me some of the hard stuff, he nagged. He even pretended to have a relapse. Omri pinched a nose dropper full of whiskey from his parents' drink cupboard and squeezed a large drop down Boone's throat before the Indian girl, whose name was Bright Stars, a reference to her shining eyes, Omri supposed, had succeeded in conveying the fact that Boone was perfectly all right and that his faint was faked. Still, after he had his drink, Boone seemed so much better that Omri and Patrick decided it wouldn't do him any harm. He's used to it after all. And thereafter, Boone got a liquor ration 3 times a day, and did very well on it. He'll be ready to go back tomorrow, said Omri on the 4th day when Boone, having a leg up from Little Bear, managed to ride his horse around the seed box at a steady walk. They'll probably look after him better than we can in his own time. A thought struck him, and he fished out of his pocket the drawing Boone had done. Boone, is this your hometown? Sure is. Omri studied it closely under the magnifying glass. Away up the street, he saw a little sign reading doctor. Is he a good doctor? About as good as any out west, I reckon. Fish a bullet out of a man's arm or cut his foot off for snake bite as neat as can be. I see him bring a pal of mine back from the dead near enough by putting a hot coal in his belly button. He never operates till a man's dead drunk, and he don't change extra for the liquor neither. Omri and Patrick looked at each other. You feel that you are in good hands with this doctor looking after you? Patrick asked worriedly. Sure word. Anyhow, I don't need no sawbones now. My wound's healing up fine. As long as I get my whiskey, I'll be as good as new. Boone bore not the slightest ill will toward Little Bear for having shot him. There's an Injun's natural nature. Poor simple critter. Could no more help himself than I can keep away from my horse and my bottle. That night, before Omri had decided to send them back, they held a brotherhood ceremony. And that's where we're gonna stop it tonight. I wish I could have finished, but there's so much pages left. Tune in next time for more awesome adventures with Anytime Storytime and her wonderful pal, Tina the Turtle. Goodbye, guys!